Don't land rockets backwards or get cars to drive themselves by ignoring the people who are lying to you. End quote. Let's bring in Bloomberg columnist and senior writer for The Dispatch, David Drucker, and NBC News congressional correspondent, Julie Sirkin. Good morning to you both. Julie, let's talk about that back and forth on Capitol Hill. We just heard Speaker Johnson doing his best to say that Elon Musk is wrong about this bill, despite all the data we've just talked about, despite what the CBO has come out and said about adding $2.4 trillion to the debt over a decade. Where does this play out from here? You have conservatives, Republicans who are trying to please effectively Donald Trump on the one hand and Elon Musk on the other.
Well, I don't think unless Elon Musk, Willie, promises to fund challengers, primary challengers, or even Democrats, which is a concern for Republicans in the White House, that Republicans on the Hill are going to pay attention to him, at least the ones who want to pass this bill, right? I think that's the distinction here, because I think what Elon Musk illustrated yesterday, or helped us understand, was the Republicans who are going to vote for this no matter what and are just making noise, like Senator Josh Hawley, who has a big issue with the Medicaid cuts and reforms because he, of course, represents a rural constituency in Missouri, or Senator Rand Paul, Senator Rand Johnson, who have been talking about the deficit and are echoing perhaps what Elon Musk has been saying online. For Josh Hawley, for example, yesterday he told me this is Donald Trump's administration. Trump drives the train. He does not think that Elon Musk is going to have influence to kill this bill. But one very important through line in all of this is, yes, it's about the deficit. Yes, Elon Musk, of course, helped the president run a campaign that was all about cutting the debt. And now this bill, as you point out, will add to it. But it's also about the electric vehicle tax credits that were removed as a part of this bill. That's very important for Elon Musk and his business. In fact, a couple of months ago, he said he doesn't need those tax credits because his business was doing so well. Of course, now that's not the case for Tesla. And we have new reporting that Elon Musk actually spent the last few weeks trying to lobby Speaker Mike Johnson, who is the only member of leadership, Republican leadership, that he has that kind of relationship where he can call and text, to keep those credits alive, to not put them in this bill. By the way, another thing in this bill, people who drive electric vehicles are now going to have to start contributing to the Highway Trust Fund. So a lot of changes made in this legislation that would hurt Elon Musk's bottom line. And a lot of people I'm talking to think that's exactly why he's making noise right now.
Well, and David Drucker, of course, also the NASA administrator issue came up there. So no doubt there are a lot of reasons for the bottom line for Elon Musk for him to be upset right now. And perhaps that has something to do with all of this. Perhaps it has a lot to do with all of this. But I'm just curious, in your reporting, I forgive me for being naive here. This bill, if this were put in front of us by Newt Gingrich or anybody else as speaker, we would have laughed it off the floor. And the last thing, you would want would be for somebody supporting this bill to do what Donald Trump did yesterday and say, oh, I agree with Elizabeth Warren. We should get rid of the debt ceiling forever. And we go, aha, okay, there you go. There's your evidence, right? But I'm incapable of understanding how somebody who calls himself a fiscal conservative could vote for this bill. The size of it would be a deal killer in the first place. The added $2.4 trillion in debt on top of $20 trillion in the next 10 years, on top of $37 trillion. I mean, I could go on and on about this. But David, is there... I don't understand why there's not a level of unease from a lot of people that I served with that are still there to pass what looks like to me the most fiscally irresponsible bill in American history.
Yeah, well, listen, Joe, as you know, lawmakers don't like to push boulders uphill. They only like, excuse me, they only like to push them downhill. And the people you served with are now in a Republican Party where populists are ascendant and fiscal conservatives, really the traditional conservative that we like to think of from the Reagan era, is a minority within the coalition. And so there just isn't a lot of support for the kind of fiscal restraint that used to sort of characterize the Republican Party, at least philosophically.
But David, are there not 4 or 5 in the House? And this isn't even fiscal restraint. This is just like not jumping off a cliff fiscally.
Yeah, well,
there aren't
I mean,
4 or 5 conservative Republicans left in the House that say no to this?
Well, yeah, but it's not saying no to this. It's saying no to President Donald Trump, and their voters trust Trump more than they trust them. So as long as Trump wants this bill is likely to pass one way or the other. Now, I've talked to Republican strategists about this, and this is the point I want to make, is that Republicans, with their thin majorities in the House and Senate, really aren't doing much else. Every ounce of energy they have, most of the legislation that they might pass, is all rolled up into this reconciliation package. That includes a lot of the tax cuts for middle and lower class voters that the president campaigned on. That also includes a lot of the border security components that are broadly popular that he campaigned on. And so if this thing collapses, the entire Trump agenda collapses, that which he can't do by executive order, and the entire congressional Republican agenda collapses. They risk going to the voters empty-handed next year. That's a recipe for disaster. One other thing here, and Republicans have told me that if they were to start from scratch and do this in a way that wasn't going to add to the debt, that would require actual normal legislating, and they'd have to negotiate with Democrats, at least in the Senate, where Democrats can filibuster. And the Republican base would look at that as a complete failure and be really, really upset that they weren't just plowing this stuff through. So there are a lot of political considerations that are, not surprisingly, are looming larger in the minds of these Republicans than the fiscal considerations, because no voter, finally here, no voter's beating on their door complaining about the debt. They're just not.
Yeah, well, they will be. They will be. Willie, it's amazing that one of the arguments for not going back and doing this right is you would have to actually go through